Hi, folks, with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the issue of gender and race, and more recently, I suppose, sexuality swapping that goes on in movie making, programs, documentaries, the whole thing. There's a very concerted, very well funded, very aggressive propaganda campaign to eliminate straight white men from pretty all areas of entertainment and programming and so on. Now, in order to do that, interestingly, the propagandists are going to very well-established white franchises, whether it be sci-fi stuff like Star Wars or Doctor Who or something, or in fact any movie or any movie that comes from a novel or comes from a story, or remakes of a movie that maybe came from a novel from a story from many years ago, many decades ago. And this was brought home to me. I was just looking at it came into my feed on this online movie thing that I've got, and it was some movie from 1999, and it was a space movie, and it came from a novel. The inspiration of the movie was a novel. And they stuck sort of close to the novel, at least the overall sort of plot and storyline and so on. But they decided, even 25 years ago, or 26 years ago, they decided to do some major race and gender swapping. Now, I hadn't actually read the novel. I knew the novel existed, but I hadn't read it. I remember seeing it once in an airport lounge before I went from somewhere to somewhere years ago. And anyway, the captain of the spaceship, it's a sci-fi thing. Captain of the spaceship's a white guy. Everyone is white, actually. There's no, and the only woman on board is a medical orderly, and she's her boss is like the doctor and so on. So she was white. So it's as I recall in the novel, it was an all-white gig and pretty much an all-male gig, But when Hollywood gets hold of it, well, what do? Do they stick to that original storyline? I mean, if you're going to use the novel, why not stay with the novel? Why use the novel, but then do all the race and gender swapping? I don't get that. And if you don't, and if the novel's got white people say, "Oh, we don't want to use those white people, those Nazis," then go and create another story, and go and get black people to write novels. Black lesbians conquer the universe. So go and do that. But no, they have to go. Now, the novel it did okay. I mean, it wasn't the world's bestseller or anything like that, and it's not iconic in the sense that it's still talked about today. But nonetheless, so the white captain is switched. He's now a black guy in the movie. The first officer is no longer a white guy. That's now a blonde chick, who, by the way, is a girl boss chick. She puts those men in their place. Whoa. She is like really smart, really tough. She may only weigh 110 pounds, 52 kilograms or something. But it doesn't mean she can't kick ass. The medical orderly is now a doctor. The white woman is now a Hispanic doctor. And the chief engineer is now black, and the list goes on. The only person they did not race swap was the bad guy. He stayed as a straight white male. Everyone else that could claim sort of technical or moral or whatever glory or standing, they were all race swap, but the bad guy, he can stay straight white. So clearly, now this is not just some accidental thing like, let's just do a couple of, we want more black people to come. The black audience at best for this sort of stuff is going to be 5% of the total audience. So that's bullshit that they have to pander to that. The Hispanic thing could be more, but I don't know if that's really going to appeal to the Hispanic community, elevating the Hispanic chick to be a doctor. I mean, is that really gonna? So I don't know. They like this appeal to modern audiences. I don't get that. The sole purpose, I interpret at least, the sole purpose of the race gender swapping is to eliminate white people. It's not to further the interest or elevate the status or standing of anyone else. or any other group. I think it's just to get rid of white people. And it's a message to white people: you don't run things anymore, okay? We're not doing things for you anymore, even though you're the audience, you pay the taxes, you buy the movie tickets. Fuck you, So that now this is happening. That was just one example, but I've noticed this happening in every movie. And I make a point now when I see a movie, even if the movie's 20, 30 years old, of saying, well, what was the inspiration for this movie? And typically, not all the time, but typically it's a novel, a story that somebody wrote years ago. Sometimes the story was written, like say something like, say Philip K. Dick and those sort of people in the 1950s are writing futuristic sci-fi stories, Isaac Asimov, all that sort of stuff. And their novels are being picked up and sort of reused. Now you do need some modernization, with those, in the sense that that they couldn't conceive of the sort of world that we'd see today in terms of the electronic gadgets and all that sort of stuff. They had some, but not all. And but when you look at the movies, whenever they do it, the race swapping and the gender swapping is all over the place. The sexuality swapping. The inserting of trans characters or something. So I make a point of looking at the novel and just have, and say you go to Amazon or something, they give you little sort of excerpts if you can't get your hands on the book, and sometimes you can find them in secondhand bookshops, but particularly the older novels. And but have a look, and you say, well, hold on, the captain of this guy wasn't. Wait a minute, the courageous crusading journalist was white. He wasn't a black guy. Or the the stunning and brave person that uncovered the crime, that was a white guy. What are they doing putting a lesbian chick in there? And the list goes on and on. And so you look at the every novel, and everyone that I've looked at has been race and or gender swapped. Now, years ago they may swap sort of 25%, maybe a lesser character. A supporting actor got race swapped or gender swapped, so who cares? Then they gradually sort of moved raised the bar here, so that now 3/4+ of the characters are being race and gender swapped. And there's the race and gender swapping. There's no attempt at authenticity. Why do they have to put the 100-pound chick, scrawny 100-pound chick? Is the chick who's kicking ass and karate chopping her way through 50 million roided out 250-pound guys. It just is. There's not even anything remotely like, as much as James Bond was fantasy and escapism, and he would always get away from the baddies and all that sort of thing. He was still a sort of a fit, muscled up big dude like Sean Connery, was over 6 foot, and he was a former bodybuilder and all this sort of thing. So there was a degree of authenticity. You can imagine someone with that like that, who would go, beating up the bad guys and all that. Yeah, you can imagine that. But the 100-pound chick with snotty attitude, I mean, she's beating up the bad guy. So there's no attempt at authenticity, which could have made it, potentially work. So I've dated a lot of athlete, track and field athlete chicks and so on. And some of them could at least on the screen pass for someone of great athletic ability who potentially could karate chop her way through the bad dude. But the 100-pound chick, excuse me, Daisy Ridley in the fucking Star Wars thing. Can you imagine somebody sort of less convincing in that role? So this is that where I'm leading up to here is that they're all being race and gender swapped now. Everything, white men are being eliminated, straight white men are being eliminated from everything they can, and they're prepared to again use source material, which is only straight white men, and just get rid of all the straight white men, and that's particularly irritating. Go and create your own fucking franchises. And also departure from reality, where the white men were part of were the captain of the spaceship. That was plausible. all the people that design spaceships and rockets and all the top of the line pilots and all those things, they're all straight white men. So that fits with reality. But instead, they're trying to do this ridiculous, perverse. Well, it's a reversal of reality. The people most likely in the real world to be doing it are swapped out for black lesbians or something. I mean, it's absurd, but that's what they're doing. So it's a purposeful thing. So my sort of concern is, should these movies come with a warning? I want to know that the original source material has been race and gender swapped to the nth degree. I want some sort of warning on the movies, like there would be, say, X-rated movies for hardcore porn or something. Yeah, I want to see warnings on the movies that tell me that or tell any potential viewer this has been propaganda race swapped and gender swapped. Okay, we've deliberately and willfully inserted propaganda here and just taken out straight white males so we can do it, or wording to not something that wordy, but wording to that effect, so that I know that it's been race gender swapped. There was there's another online movie thing that I used to be part of, but or pay a subscription to. It's really cheap, and they started inserting LGBTQ movies in the lineup, but they didn't tell you that it was. Then there was a number of complaints, so they then had a special LGBTQ section. That's fine, I don't care. They're okay with me. I don't look at it, but for those who want to. Then the company complained that not enough people were looking at the LGBTQ, which shows you, by the way, what does that tell you? It tells you there's no real market for it. But anyway, so they then wanted to put the movies back into circulation in the regular movie lineup, and because they want people to watch the propaganda. They want to force and push the propaganda at you, because they think it'll somehow change your mind or force you to take a different view, because I have this view that everyone's against us, Nazis. And if we force people to watch things, then they won't be Nazis anymore. Something like that, I think. I don't know. Affirmation. So that didn't work either. That fell over. So then they left the movies in the regular lineup, but they put the LGBTQ warning on it, or advisory. Warning's maybe too strong a word. And this is what I think should be done with look, we're engaging in hatred of straight white men and straight white people here, and I think there should be an advisory on TV shows, programs, documentaries. When I look at a documentary, say an animal documentary from I don't know, 1970, say, years ago, and about African say the African hunting dogs, the prairie dog type dogs in Africa, and it was a very neutral thing. There was no gender politics or race politics or anything. They were just purely talking about the facts of these African hunting dog things. Now, it was quite a good, and it's still online, by the way. It's quite it's dated in the way that they use language, but it was straight down the middle, no politics, no ideology, nothing. It was just an animal documentary, and very good too. Now today, when that same or a documentary about African hunting dogs is made, they put genders. She is a better hunter than he is. She dominates the hunt. She is in charge. And this is talking about the dogs, the female dogs. She won't allow him to eat the food until the babies have eaten first, and they make up this fantasy world that doesn't exist. They'll show some sort of alleged interaction and then describe it in a certain way, which is all ideological fanaticism and nonsense. The dogs are nearby an area that the local tribe, this is Black African, your local tribe has turned again due to the oppression of white people, the evil Nazis, and they'll inject that in. So at every opportunity, they're injecting ideology and conflict and social division at every. So barely mention. I mean, you'd be confused. Is this a documentary about African hunting dogs or about Marxist ideology? So that, again, these sort of things need to have, I would argue, need to have warnings on them, advisories, so we know what we're getting into. But also, it's a recognition of the extent to which all entertainment is used as propaganda. Being with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.